All right. My name is Tracy Miller, and those of you that are watching the archive now, this is Redesigning Course Materials for Online Delivery, and it is a simulcast, so we have some folks online and some folks face-to-face with us here in Adams Hall. So welcome, and let's go ahead and get started. All right. So I kind of told the folks before we got started that I was going to ask them what their expectations of the workshop were. And so let's start with that. We'll start in the room. Your expectations?
I'm going to be teaching an online course in the fall, and it'll be in person in the spring. So I'm doing a little bit reverse of what this course is about, but I think it'll help me all the same.
Great, thank you.
I've been teaching an online class, but I want to add a different audio component to it that I'm using now.
Okay, great. Online, would you like to use the microphone, or would you like to add something to the text chat area? And as you can see here in the room, we can see the chat down below. Somebody's attempting any typing.
Well, Rayanne, it looks like you're typing something
okay.
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, Alicia's teaching online this summer. What course are you teaching? Rayanne said she has to better understand the differences between online and in-person and how to best teach between the two. Great. Well, it seems like we're all in the right place, so that's good. Alicia, whenever you get a chance, if you want to just tell us what course you're teaching. Oh, welcome, Melinda. Right now we're just sharing ideas about why we're here and what our expectations are for this workshop. So, you know, get yourself comfortable, Melinda, but then if you want to jump in, go ahead and tell us what you're hoping to get out of this workshop. Okay, special topic, strategic communications. Ooh. All right, so every workshop I like to start with what my workshop objectives are. And so in this case, I thought, okay, what are the things that are going to be really important for everyone to know? Because, you know, it took me, you know, years to get my master's in online learning, and, you know, how can I take that and, like, squash it down into 90 minutes? So, you know, again, what was the really important tips that I wanted to convey? So the first thing is that whenever you redesign anything, you want to think about what your goals are, think about what the course is, and then what challenges you think you're going to experience. Next, we're going to go into 5 tips on how to redesign your course material in terms of what works and what doesn't work. I think everybody likes those tips, right? They're just really practical. Don't give me all the philosophy, just tell me what to do, right? And then also, we're going to try to actually work with some course materials and activities and talk about actually designing and developing something, okay? And hopefully we have time for that last piece, because I think it'll be sort of fun. But we're also coming from different disciplines, different colleges, so we just have to be sort of forgiving of each other and creative and try to come up with something. So any questions on the objectives, or there's something that you really wanted me to cover and you don't think that's going to cover it? Do you have anybody writing online? Okay. Okay, so I said the first thing is to really think about your course, okay? You know, in your head, select the course that you're going to kind of redesign, the material that you're going to redesign. I'm sorry, what was your name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer. you know, you said that there was some audio components that you were thinking. So in your mind, you know what the course is and specifically what you're thinking about changing. So it's that sort of thinking that I'm looking for. Next is to think about your students. So I know we talked about, Alicia, you were teaching this summer. So you're probably creating possibly a shorter course. Maybe it's the kind of students that need a summer course, or they're just so jazzed up that they can't take the summer off. They need to take more courses. You know, think about your students that are in these courses. The thing is, when they take an online course, they're could be working adults. You know, they're trying to fit this into their lives, and they got a lot of other things going on. And so, master's level statistics, ooh, and flipped. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about flipped Melinda, so that'll be good. Melinda. I know I'm Melinda, I'm sorry. Whenever you create a course, design a course, redesign materials, put your learning objectives first. What is it you're setting out to teach your students? Okay? And we're going to talk about this a little bit more later, but you never want to kind of find that cool tool or that technology you heard about and then try to build it into something that the students are supposed to learn. You always want to think about what do I want my students to get out of this, and how can I build something for them. And I talked a little bit about how long the course is. So normally we're thinking, you know, 1 class period a week, 2 class periods a week, 2 class periods a week in a lab. You know, there's all these different combinations. And now it's just sort of how many weeks is it, and how much can I build into an online environment? And, we're not restricted by time as much anymore. So, you know, you just have to think about it a little bit differently. And I'll give you some good ideas on that. Just checking back in the chat area, Alicia says hybrid, 8 weeks, mainly employee full-time. See, so it's going to be an intense 8 weeks, and they're going to have a lot of other things going on. Of course, the good thing about working adults is they might be pretty good at managing their time by then. So there's good and bad, pros and cons, right? Okay, now this is completely blank because I don't know what your goals are, okay? And it's never for me to tell you what your goals are. So I have given the folks online permission to write on this whiteboard. And if you'll see this menu along the side, this is where you can literally use a pen or even use a text box entry. So if you want to draw on the whiteboard and put some of your goals down, or if you just want to put it back in that text chat area, you can do that too. Here in the room, I can add yours to the whiteboard. So Jennifer, your goal was to add audio, right?
Correct.
Okay, and anything else?
Is there I know there's a way. I want to add audio, but have it so you don't have to watch the PowerPoint to hear the audio.
Okay.
If you could show it with and without, because some of them want that and some of them don't.
Okay. They're not interested in your brilliant animation.
They want to listen to it while they're driving.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Typing in front of everybody is always fun, right? Okay. So almost like a podcast, right? Then, okay. Okay. I am on an iPad, so I don't see the writing tools. Oh, you're right, Alicia. I'm sorry. Put any of your ideas into the text chat, or just, you know, use your microphone and you can speak up. It looks like you're doing pretty well on the text chat. Can't figure out how to write on the whiteboard. That's fine. We do this collaborate workshop, and we show you how to use all these tools. So if it's easy enough to use the text chat, that's what we'll use. Great. What else? Anyone want to shorten? And what I'm thinking is what we were talking about, going 16 weeks to 8 weeks. Okay, maybe the goal is you still have 16 weeks worth of content. You know, how do you bring it down?
Okay. I want to build a sense of community online that I'm able to do in person. I want to do the same thing online.
Great. Okay, what to work on in class and what to provide online. Okay, that balance, that blended learning, what kind of works in the class, what works better online. Okay, deciding on what to offer online versus things. So we're hearing a lot of these things. And I'm actually hearing a lot about the blending, you know. There's a lot of research out there, and there was research for 80 years that said that there was no significant difference between online and face-to-face. If it was good online or good face-to-face, students benefited. If it was bad face-to-face or bad online, students didn't benefit so much. But what they are finding now is that that blended environment, if you can figure out that mix, is so far showing some real benefits. So these are good goals. Again, just to get your brain thinking about these things. My goal in the 90 minutes I have with you today. So thinking about those goals ahead of time. Okay, now raise your hands online or in the room. Who's heard of Bloom's taxonomy? Okay, we got 2 in the room. All right. Oh, and welcome, Todd. And Todd's given me the check mark. Okay, well then I don't have to explain it to anybody. That's great. But there's a revised Bloom's taxonomy now, and you may all raise your hands about this too, but I just found it, and I am thrilled with it. And Iowa State University has come up with this chart, and I'll send you a link to it. There's actually an interactive one. And what it's done is it's taken the normal kind of blooms. Hold on. Do a smiley face. Remember, understand, apply, all the way up to create. That's the new verb. It used to be the, it used to be the noun. But he added this knowledge dimension where he talked a little bit about what students learn about their own learning or their own processes. So it's factual, conceptual, things taxonomy. Oh yeah. Procedural and metacognition. Okay? And then they created all these little stair steps with those great verbs when you create a learning objective that you can just begin to develop those learning objectives. And so you can see we have summarize, which would be the cross between understanding something factually, and this just fascinates me. Has anyone seen this? Okay, oh good, at least I got this far, but it's not a workshop on learning objectives, so I'll have to rein myself in, not go too crazy. But I mean, think about how powerful this could start to be. The word deconstruct something, where you're really analyzing something and you're using your thinking about thinking, your metacognition skills. For students to be able to do that is really important because let's face it, we're trying to prepare them for careers that haven't even been invented yet. So by the time they graduate, there's going to be this whole new field for them. And so in order for them to be able to develop these skills, it's going to be, I think it's going to be really powerful. It's going to be really amazing. So now you have the chance. Maybe you've been doing a course for face-to-face or in a certain way for a long time, but you came here today because you wanted to redesign something. So this is your time to think about those learning objectives and maybe toss out some of your restrictions and really redesign or design something really incredible right now. But of course, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. What are our challenges? Okay, so same thing as the goal. What are we nervous about? And Todd, oh, and welcome Sandy. Everyone, if you want to add something to the whiteboard or just put your ideas into the text chat, we're just trying to, what are your challenges? What do you think is going to be a roadblock when you try to redesign some of this? So just, I think it's been easier for everyone to just put it in the text chat. But what do we have in the room?
Creating valuable discussion. That's one of the things my students always say in my course evals is that they really like the discussions we have.
Okay.
So how can I do that?
It's face-to-face.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how can I do that online?
Todd said finding the time to create all materials before the class goes live. People will check out of online sessions and I can't see them. I agree with Todd. Okay. Anything, Jennifer?
Keeping them engaged when you can't make eye contact with them necessarily.
Okay, so that's, yeah. Time to monitor student participation. Whether it was just that, yes. These are all very true, very relevant. Make sure learn it, not to memorize it. Yeah, I am a freshman in college now, and my husband always says, study hard, and I'm always like, learn something. Like, it'd be great if you study hard, but only if it's going to help you learn something. Yeah, I mean, we want, that's what our real goal is, right? We want them to learn something. So true. Really valid point. Nothing actually surprises me, so I'm really happy about that because I think I can help out. Okay, so we're going to move into our 5 tips. And so this is where we get really practical. For those of you that have just sort of come on, we've said, you know, don't give me all the philosophy, the strategies, the theories. Give me something I can really do, okay? So we're going to go into some of these 5 tips. Okay, first one is identify your course format. And I think this is just an extension of what we've been talking about so far. Is it going to be asynchronous, synchronous, or blended? Now today, one of the reasons I really loved being able to do this as a simulcast is that geographically we're separated, but we're synchronous. We're all right now in the same time, except for those of you who are watching the archive. It's just for future viewing. But then, so then we're in a different time, right? Asynchronous is the different time. It's that discussion, you know, but it's not everybody in the same time having the discussion. As a matter of fact, discussion boards can be sort of confusing when everybody's on at the same time because they're kind of jumping over each other. So you do have to think about it a little bit differently. And then I think some of the goals we had and the challenges we had was this idea of blending it. So how do we, what do we save for synchronous? What do we save for asynchronous? What do we put online? What do we keep to the course? And so it's taking a moment to really identify what that's going to be like. Okay. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, use an instructional design model. Okay. My first bullet point may be instinctual. You've actually all been instructional designers as long as you've been teaching. If you've been creating lesson plans, even back in college if you're creating lesson plans, you're thinking about how you were going to design a lesson, a moment of instruction. And so You know, your first idea is like, oh, it's all right up here in my head. I know what I need to do. But now you're kind of like, oh, this is a little different. I think I'll think about it a little differently. And so there's a lot of instructional models out there. Probably the most common is called the ADDIE model, and it's assess, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. And so you're going to kind of go through these steps. But on paper, you're going to think about it in a real way, because it can be, if you skip the step, you can't just improvise in class like you do now. If you forgot to make a point in your PowerPoint and you're delivering a lecture face-to-face, all of a sudden that's going to slip back in your mind and you can put it in there. But you can't as easily if you created a voiceover PowerPoint or some sort of presentation. And so it seems like it's a lot of work up front. I think Todd said getting it all ready before the class goes live. Yeah, that's hard. There's a little bit more to do. The great thing is that a lot of the time, if you put the effort in first, the design work, the thought behind it, then you only have to do it once. And you can kind of roll it out year after year, semester after semester, so it's kind of nice. The other design that I'd like to talk about is universal design. So everyone actually has access when they go to Blackboard. They'll see this universal design course that you can take, and I think it may direct them out to Course Sites, which is the free Blackboard version. So Blackboard's just sort of put it out there. What it is this concept that if you use universal design principles, it will be really good for as many students as possible. And so when I think about universal design, the first thing that pops into my head is students with disabilities. So, you know, you need to think about it in terms of students that either have a learning disability or a visual impairment or a hearing impairment, something that, you know, if you use these principles, which are all, somebody else came up with all these ideas, it will just accommodate the most people possible. There's other ones besides what we would typically think of as a disability, just having a lot of choice for the students. They learn differently. They soak up information in different ways, and just giving them choice and giving them, some of them like the audio better than watching the PowerPoint with the audio. You know, for whatever reason, if they're driving the car, they're kind of in the zone, and they can just listen and, you know, so that's a really good example of a universal design principle. Now, you need to probably offer it a different way for the visually impaired, or the hearing impaired. Yeah. So again, it's just some things that are already out there that can help you with some of this work. All right. Okay, we talked about they have, in your class, they have really great discussions when they're in class. You don't want to lose that. Thank you. We're getting a little noise in the hallway. And we're right next to the elevator, so we always get elevator noises in this room. So you don't want to lose those great discussions that happen in your class. And you don't want them to start to feel like they're not part of the community. We talked about feeling like part of the community. And so, you know what, that can definitely be left behind. So that's why tip number 3 is to incorporate interactions. You have to be so intentional about how you're going to do that. It can't be secondary. You know, you don't want to put all these beautiful lectures, you know, and every activities and assessments, and then say, oh, you know what, I think I'll throw in a discussion board. You know, you want to think about it up front, okay? Always think about it in 3 ways. Learner to content, learner to learner, and learner to instructor. And we're going to kind of break those down a little bit more when we actually get into trying our hands at creating one of these. But learner to instructor, I'm going to just touch on briefly here because we feel like we're not the eyes on them, right? I think you mentioned that with the sort of the goals and the challenges. I can't see what they're doing. And sometimes you can't, but they need to know you're there. So if you do have a discussion board, you know, let them know that you're going to be monitoring it or participating in it. If you're going to have them do a reflection journal, which is a good online activity, then give them real feedback, you know, not just a 8 out of 10. You know, that's just ways that you can make them feel your presence in the area. Not so much like, are they texting? Well, they should be watching this. I know you're all checking your email. But, you know, what can we do that's going to help them feel like we're there? And it's not going to, oh no! See, I do have eyes on you. All right. So my fourth one is same in class. Yeah, you can't tell if they're, well, you can. If you have a lecture hall with like 400 people in it, it's probably hard to tell whether they're texting or not. So here's the fun one. Implement appropriate technology for your educational objectives. Okay? And this gets back to the don't just do the fun, fancy ones, but you can use it for communication, content delivery, assessment, or collaboration. Those are kind of the 4 areas that we tend to use educational technology in. But I have a sort of a little story for you. This is the gel pen. When my kids were in elementary school, Target, Walmart, Office Depot, they all wanted to sell me the gel pen because it was cool and came in fun colors. And guess what? It still just writes things down on paper. And so you don't, even though it's cool and fun and like there's lots of marketing being thrown at you, you don't have to use the gel pen. You can use a pen. Okay, so the technology is the pen. It doesn't have to do more than you need it to do. It should fit that learning objective. It's not just there for the sake of being a cool piece of technology. However, here's our friend the big pen, right? There's like, you could buy, what, 20 of them for $2 or something like that. They come in this big pack of them. If you find them on sale, they're even cheaper. You know, the big pen works. But I don't know if you've heard about this particular activity, and online, give me a thumbs up or something if you have. Big pens have a certain sort of essence to them that mimics a pheromone that termites are attracted to. Okay? So you could do a lesson plan, and science teachers will do this, biology teachers. They will try to help them, you know, work their way through the scientific method by using this termite experiment. And they have a collection of pens, my smiley face, and they make these squiggly lines, and one of them's the big pen. And then you get their termites out, and they will follow the line of the big pen because of that imitation pheromone smell. So then the students have to decide how that happens. You know, so you're kind of getting them to think about that. What could it be? Is it a color? No, it's the same color as this other pen, you know. And so in that case, a very simple technology actually has huge meaning for this particular learning objective. And so that's sort of my taking it out of the computer, online, you know, flashy electronics realm, and just saying, you know, this big pen that's like 2 cents a piece is way more important than the gel pen. That's kind of cool and flashy. So technology needs to fit the learning objective. Anyone online, I want to make sure that I pause for any questions. I want to make sure everyone can still hear us okay. Excellent. Still good. All right. I should do my thumbs up higher because the camera's on. I'm not used to going. Okay. Oh, okay. She might. Do you have anything to say? Because I might have left that hanging there. All right. Let's see if she raises it again. Isn't it fun seeing the back end? All right, so I said we were going to talk about this second objective, these 5 tips in terms of what works and what doesn't work. The only thing that I found that doesn't work very well is thinking that all you need to do is move everything onto Blackboard. Okay, so we've seen it, but it doesn't address some of the challenges. How are we going to know that they're doing something they're not supposed to do, or how are they still going to benefit from those awesome discussions? If you just simply kind of make everything into PDFs and PowerPoints and throw them onto Blackboard, it's not quite what we're talking about, moving content for online delivery. Okay. And honestly, that's the only thing that people are creative. If you stop and think about these things, and we hear about things every day that are like simply amazing. One of the ones that we're going to highlight at our Teaching with Technology Institute this year, faculty member teaches American Sign Language. And when she found out that we have video everywhere on Blackboard now, she's literally creating quizzes where she signs, and then they have to, their answer is what she signs. I mean, how creative is that? We would have never came up with that. You know, I love meeting people and talking about these ideas just because it's so beneficial to everybody, and then I can share it with more people. Can anyone think of anything that they found that doesn't work? Todd's got something. Overloading the student with information. Actually, I can agree with you on that, especially when we're talking about taking that 16 weeks, like semester long, and cramming it into 8 weeks. So my recommendation with that is, again, to just think about what they really, really need to know and chunk it up for them as much as possible. If you're using Blackboard, then you can either make things available at different times, or maybe make things available as they complete one thing, then the next thing will become available. It would definitely be overwhelming to sort of see all of that all at once. Even though they know there's a lot of things, it kind of mitigates it a little bit. And then you really need to think about what is nice, but maybe not what's essential. You know. So here's another model. This is called the SAMR model, and I don't know why they have it backwards, but they do. Maybe it just spelled out something more reasonable when they did it backwards, or maybe top, bottom to top. But when you're thinking about taking something that you have now and putting it online, what do you really want to do with it? Do you want to just do a simple substitution? And you can see this definition here: technology acts as a direct tool substitution, no functional change. Use Google Earth instead of Atlas to locate a place. Okay, so it's still more than what I said by just taking what you have now and putting it on Blackboard, which we said, you know, don't do that. This is saying, let's use Google Earth instead of an app. So even the substitution has a little bit of a enhancement there. The next one, augmentation. Technology acts as a direct tool with a functional improvement. Use Google Earth rulers to measure the distance between two places. So now you're taking that tool and you're using some of its enhanced functionality. So you're even stepping it up a little bit more. So that's what this bottom area is, what they call an enhancement. And that's definitely a good place to start. Todd, you said overwhelming the student with information. If you put a lot of new bells and whistles, you're going to overwhelm yourself and your students. So starting with some enhancements is a great way for you to get comfortable with some of the things, and then maybe even build it over the course of the semester where you're kind of starting with enhancements and then you're moving into this transformation area, which is at the top. So modifications. Technology allows for significant task redesign. So the example is use Google Earth layers such as the panoramic and 360 cities to research locations. Okay, so now you're really doing something you could never do face-to-face. You can't go to Rome face-to-face. You can pull out books, you can show slideshows, you know, but with Google Earth you can go down the street view and like walk through the streets with them. There's a great thing, I guess you call it, it's called Google Cultural Institute. And, you know, because Google drives around the world, right, and they take pictures of everything. You could go and see amazing works of art down to the pixel size. And they use these amazing cameras. You can go into areas that you can't go into even when you're there live because it's dangerous. You know, either a building falling down or something. And so this is really getting into some incredible modification that, again, you would never do if you had to do it face-to-face in your classroom. It would be nice to be able to go to Paris and see these works of art. But, you know, but you couldn't look at them down to the pixel size if you went into those and looked at the works of art. So, again, things you thought weren't possible can now be possible with the thought. Redefinition. Technology allows for a creation of new tasks previously inconceivable. So I started to touch on that. Create a narrated Google Earth guided tour and share this online. So if we think back to our Bloom's taxonomy, our revised Bloom's taxonomy, the top one was create something. And so in this case, the students have to know something so well that they have to create this new course tour of something. And in this case, they're using the Google Earth. But you know, in some ways, we would have thought, how do I get this create out of my students? And now this could actually be possible. So I like this model. I think it's really straightforward. It's just kind of taking maybe some of these, putting your own story into it. I don't know if anybody plans to use Google Earth tomorrow, but it may not be relevant to you. Okay, Alicia's on a train. Okay, so she may lose connection. Okay, so this may be the first time that when I said we were in different places, Alicia continues to be in a different place. So that's pretty amazing.
That's pretty nice. And Alicia, we're recording this right now. We'll put the link to the archive up online.
Yeah. So if you miss any of it, you can go back and watch it. Okay. Tip number 5. Allow for revision. I am now giving you all permission to alleviate yourself of having to do it perfect the first time. Okay? This is a process. This is why we talk about this improvement cycle. Why we talk about maybe we're just going to start with a few things and we're going to build. It's a good idea, you know, going back to what Todd said about having everything ready to go live. It's definitely good to have a good chunk done, you know, but give yourself some time to be able to build, learn from those early lessons. I said plan to evaluate. Think about midterm survey that you're going to give your students. And then listen to what they say and allow yourself these revisions. So if that discussion board seems to be falling flat, then what is it? Were you not, the prompts were wrong, the timing was wrong, maybe they needed 3 days instead of 2 days to respond. Whatever it is, just giving yourself that time to kind of reflect and say, okay, we're going to do things differently next time. Is Jennifer just arrived? Welcome, Jennifer. So again, just think about what you want to happen. You're already thinking about it. Now, how are you going to evaluate it? Is it okay for you that only 50% of the students are part of the discussion board? No. See, you're saying no. So then you've got to assign points to it, or something, you know, or you've got to make it such a compelling, you know, discussion question that they can't help themselves but answer. But I was recently observing in a classroom here, and they had some brilliant discussions. I mean, they got on the topic, and everybody sort of got rolling, except for a couple of the shyer students. They're always going to be the ones that don't quite want to speak up in class. And the funny thing was, is after class, they would go up and talk to the faculty member. And so it really was that I'm just not the type to talk in front of the class, but guess what? I'm really engaged in the topic. You know, these are the ones that are just, you can't shut them up on the discussion board. And they get time to think about what they're going to say and then look up resources and, you know, all that good stuff. So if 50% participation is not good for you and you're halfway through the semester and you're like, what's up? Then you have time to kind of adjust. You know, always be thinking about that. So that is tip number 5. We don't want more than 5 because then we're going to overload, right? So we have about almost 40 minutes left. I want to make sure we have time for some questions, but this is the fun part, folks. So Jennifer, just jump right in there, add things to the text chat, or raise your hand and speak up. We're going to actually try, I'm going to go through this learning objectives as I set up, and then we're going to try one on our own. Okay? So when I pointed out the revised taxonomy, one of those high-level objectives was that students will be able to determine the relevance of results. Okay, and I did look up, it looked like there were a lot of people in public health and allied health, and so it's okay, I'll try to find something that's sort of health-related. I don't know a lot about it. So if I'm wrong in what I'm saying, I'm sorry. But here we go. I think it's important that students will be able to determine the relevance of results in a health field. And Jennifer's nodding her head at me, so and she's wearing like scrubs. So I don't know if it was a fashion choice for today. Jennifer. Oh, okay, Jennifer too. So then I said, okay, we need to incorporate interaction, and we always think about interaction as learner to content, learner to learner, learner to instructor. So I put all those down because I don't want to forget about any of that. It's important stuff to incorporate the interaction. Then we talked about implementing the appropriate technology. And that's like a sentence. So my header is just content text. We'll see if it works. I think so. In this case, our first thing we're going to redesign in order to help the students meet our objective of determining the relevance of results. Learner to content, that's content delivery. That's a pretty simple connection there. So how are we going to do it? We're going to have a video on hypertension. Okay? Maybe that's our own video. Maybe that's a podcast with a video, because we know that our students, some of them like to listen while maybe they're on the train. Maybe they're on the train and they want to listen to a podcast. So whatever this video or this podcast is on hypertension, we feel like it's going to help them learn the relevance of results. Okay? You're the expert. I don't know if this would really help them at all. Okay, that's where you excuse me off. Next one, learner to learner. Let me make sure I do my little. We're going to decide that this is going to be a way that we're going to allow them to communicate with each other. And so we're going to create a discussion board. Now, we're not creating a discussion board as an icebreaker, as a help forum to answer questions on what the final is going to be like. This particular discussion board, primary reason for being is to help students determine the relevance of results. So that's how we're going to start to think about what those prompts are, what those thought-provoking questions are, how much they need to interact with each other. And if you've done a discussion board before, very typical is, your first post is something well written, and it's going to just convey all your ideas about hypertension and how the results mean different things, different diagnosis. Again, I hope I'm saying the right thing. Okay, Jennifer's still nodding. I don't know if Jennifer online is nodding too. We're going to make sure that that discussion board fits that objective. Okay, again, it's not the help forum. It's not the icebreaker forum. It's not the homework hotline forum. It's meant for this particular activity. So you probably want to grade it. In Blackboard, you can grade discussion boards, and you can, again, have them respond in a really relevant way. Or you can decide that you're going to respond. Maybe you're going to pepper in additional questions to get that discussion really flowing. So you just need to think about all those parameters before you put the discussion board together. And then again, that's going to be, okay, 50% of the students participated in the discussion board. That wasn't your goal. You wanted everybody to participate in it. So what can you do now? Can you assign points to it? Can you post the, maybe say, oh, here's our discussion poster of the week, and give them some external reward for, being so talkative on the discussion board. And what kind of other things that you can design in there to make this communication a little bit stronger. And then finally, we have learner to instructor. And I chose an assessment just because we hadn't done one before. And the material or activity that they're going to do is a paper assignment. So a written paper on hypertension and what sort of results would indicate hypertension. Or, again, we want it all to tie back into that learning objective. And there may be smaller ones too. Maybe we actually want them to learn about hypertension. But the idea is that if they learn about that relevance of results, they can take that sort of knowledge that they gained from hypertension and then extrapolate it into a different area. Okay, people are popping in and out of the room. They're probably losing connection. Jennifer was on the train though, right?
Alicia?
Oh, Alicia was on the train. Okay, folks, who's got them? Anybody? We've been talking for a while. I've been talking for a while. Can you think of anything that is now one of your course objectives that you want students be able to do or know? Don't make it too complicated. Anybody online? Oh, I know they're thinking. We actually have full attendance. Now that I paused and looked. Okay. Todd's research communication breakdowns in government. Okay, so we want them, Felicia, to understand research communication breakdowns in government, or just to we're going to do the research. Why? Okay. Let's change it here. That never happens. I don't even know what you're talking about. Okay, Ted says for material or activities, students will be able to apply theoretical principles to different environments. Yeah, I know it never happens. I don't know if I believe you. Okay, so let's start with Alicia. She wants them to research or know why communications break down in government. Okay, what sort of interaction do we want to build in here? We got learner to learner, learner to content, or learner to instructor. Give me examples first, then analyze the case. Okay? So that's the activity that you'd like them to do. So pick a presentation. Like you. And analyze it against best practices. From GitHub. Maybe it's the typing. Alicia, you're doing great. Do you see this as them presenting their case, if I have that right, to it benefiting you to be able to assess their work and get your feedback, or maybe to interact with each other? Design communication strategy. Okay, so that's like the big one. Yeah. Okay. So I'm following your trail here. At least you said yes, they present to the group. So it'll be learner to learner. And are you going to use any technology for this? When you go online, how are you going to do it? Real time. So it's going to be something like what you were using now. Okay. I am thinking they will write up their results. So just grabs when I want to write and writes when I want to grab. Come on. Okay, so if we want them to write up their results, are they going to write up their results to the instructor? Or are they going to write up their results and have it available for all of the class to see? Present to students who've written to me. Okay. So that one is a learner to instructor. And I'm just using the word instructor to keep it sort of generic. Okay, do we see how this is kind of falling together? It's horribly typed up, but the one thing, so we want to think about learner to content. So how are they going to know about this? Is it going to be from case studies? I think she said something about case studies. We need examples first and then analyze the case. They have to find a case in the news. Okay, so they're going to get it from a right. So you see how that sort of works? And then basically, you know, online news or traditional news, right? They just need to cite their source stuff. You can even provide them links to sources as the examples, because I think you said earlier, give them examples. So this will all work really well, I think. Now, is this something, Alicia, that you do in class already? Yes, okay. Can you see yourself kind of redesigning it and adapting it a little bit to be even more powerful online?
Oh, the enter key. Oh, there we go.
Mr. Tech. Okay, got it. Good. See that? So that's the idea. Okay. You know, I kind of took all of the those tips and some of the strategies we talked about up front and kind of like crammed them all into this little thing. But that's kind of that's what you just need to do. What do we want to do? How do we not want to lose anything? The reason I kind of really forced us through this one, they were all great examples, but I wanted to make sure we, you know, really followed that tip of building in that interaction. I like the way we thought about an activity and then we put the technology in there. That way we weren't thinking about it too much. As a matter of fact, this could be all done face-to-face, for sure. Absolutely. They might be able to create a movie on their presentation, or you know, you can get a little bit more creative. But again, only if it seems to make sense. They are nervous about presenting online. Ooh, oh, just oh. They're like, oh, yeah. So actually, presenting online to me is kind of funny because sometimes I hear from folks that, you know, oh, they need to be able to present face-to-face, and they certainly do. But my husband works out of my house, and he works for this big tech company. He spends more of his time on the phone and on web conferencing presenting to people around the world than he does face-to-face. So it's actually a 21st century skill that, you know, they didn't like presenting in the front of the class either. It's a skill that, you know, you have to become more comfortable with. When I started talking to groups of good spell job, when I started talking to large groups of people, I always had to have like a mint or, you know, something in my mouth that would keep like the saliva juices because I get this terrible cotton mouth and tunnel vision and everything. You know, you do it more and more, and you say a lot, but I do. You don't. Peter doesn't say a lot.
You know?
I don't know.
No one ever notices them, so yeah.
Well, until you go back and watch it. That
Very
was
next week, goodness, I'm sorry.
I know, I say too much. I'm sorry. I should just pause. Right? Now I'm going to say it like 3 times as much. Okay. So, anyway, back to my great spell job. I want to keep that at the end of the chat. We put together some resources, and I'll send out this link to everybody. It's pretty good. There's a lot of good tools to use, so we can share some tools with you. There's some rubrics. There's some syllabus that can kind of jumpstart to get you going on all this. If you want to follow the link right now online, you can just kind of put that in there. Peter, can you copy and paste that? Put that into the chat area. But I want to open it up for questions, or we can go back and try another learning objective. I think Todd had one. Okay, apply theoretical principles to different environments. That's real. Let's see if we can. How can I clear this?
Just click on each one. You can click
There's the overall clear. Let's keep the lip interaction. There you go. Okay, Todd, walk us through it. What can we do for a learner-to-learner activity? I'm putting you on the spot. I know you can do it. At least you did it from the train. Okay, typing. See? I've got my eye on you, Todd. Can't be checking your emails now. I take segments of larger projects, break them down into collaborative group activities. Doesn't matter which one I do. Okay, they're forced to work with each other, right? They're going to learn from each other. They're going to learn about teamwork as well as how to apply theoretical principles to different environments. In theory. Wow. Okay. How about learner to instructor? Oh, let's go back. Are we going to use any kind of online technology for them to collaborate in their group activities? Can anyone else help them out?
Can see the discussion board on my blackboard.
They could. How's typing? Okay, I develop iMovies for them to watch, and then they work on activities and post via discussion board. Okay, so the content would be your iMovies you work on. That's how you're delivering the content to them. And where do you put these iMovies? On the cloud and a link through Blackboard. Okay. That's good. When you use the cloud, then you can just link it in each of the courses that you use, and then it's not taking up so much space on the server. It's a good plan. Oh, house them. I'm like, you keep them at your house? Okay, so how do they interact with you in this project? Oh, yeah. It's really hard. If I had a limp and a cane. Love that show.
And a meth addiction.
Well, there was that. Oh, gosh.
Well, no, it doesn't show up for people online.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't know that. Through discussion boards and direct through email. I struggle with this one. Okay, can we help him out? So you're giving feedback. And email. And I'll hit enter. Can we help Todd out? He's struggling with this one. It's just going to help him. Maybe. No, she's just on her iPad. Well, I have an idea. I'm thinking possibly a reflection journal between you and your student. Your student starts the journal, and you can give them feedback, and they can also kind of reflect on their own learning at the same time. Or a blog where the students can be able to really create a nice piece on how they feel like they're, what are we back to? How they can write a blog on how theoretical principles apply to different environments, and then you can help them through your comments and maybe kind of identify some misconceptions or areas that they're struggling with, sort of more real time. I remember you said right up front that you kind of break it down into smaller segments, and so that's really good because then they're not kind of lost at the end. You've given them that feedback all the way through, which is a great principle. Write an editorial or a movie review. Oh, I love that one, Alicia. That is so much fun. So you can sort of and make it a little bit more informal, a little bit different, especially if you're creating an iMovie, they can do sort of this mover review. Todd likes the idea of the blog or wiki, especially if they're doing a group activity like this. They can kind of collaborate in the wiki space, whether it's the wiki on Blackboard or using a different wiki tool. Ability to utilize technology is an important skill regardless of the content. Yeah, even using the technology of the wiki, but the skill of being able to work as a team. And it's like presenting online or in front of the class. Nobody wants to work in groups, but we have to do it every day. You know, Peter and I had to work together to pull this workshop off, you know, and so it was painful. No. You know, and so again, it's a good skill, not just a technology skill, but a good skill of life. Okay, so we're down to 16 minutes. We actually worked through 2 objectives. Thank you so much for Alicia and Todd for putting yourself out there. Hopefully we've been generating some ideas and some thoughts in everybody's mind as they go forward, especially those that are going to be doing something for the summer. So I suggest you take a couple days, wrap up this semester, and get right back into it. Hopefully the weather will cooperate with you. Peter sent out that link with all those other resources. I always want to end my workshops with information on how to contact me. So it's all up there. My email information, everything. My direct line, physically where I'm located. And then, you know, I always like to boost my people who follow me after workshops by throwing out my Twitter handle here. It doesn't always work. But finally, I have a survey. We take our surveys very seriously here. We really appreciate the feedback, especially we haven't done a simulcast like this in a few years. So we're kind of digging it out and retrying it again. Hopefully it benefits everybody. You know, I talked about blended learning. Some people just kind of like the face-to-face, and others just can't get here, or they rather be in their pajamas at home doing this. So again, your survey will be very important to me, very important to us, so I appreciate it. Just take a couple minutes to do that. I do want to have just a few more minutes for questions. I'm going to sit patiently. Oh, I just got something. Oh, thanks, Lisa. Peter, can you put that survey link in there? That way if folks online want to just click on it right now. Thanks, Jennifer. Other Jennifer. And again, the archive will be up in the next couple days if you want to go back and look at anything. And all my contact information is here. If questions pop up, you know, tomorrow or whatever, I'd be happy to answer them. Any questions in the room? Okay. P.S. Who's in the room? Okay. Can I reveal you? I don't know. They might be anonymous. We have Lynn Herman and Jennifer Latchmere. Lycomer. Lycomer. Okay, I tried to make it like European or something.
Like Lycomer.
So just a couple folks physically in Adams Hall with us, and then we actually had a full house today. We were expecting 8 people, and that's how many we ended up with. So it seems like this is a good format, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Well, if I don't talk to anybody before then, have a great summer. Try to stay at a moderate temperature, not too hot and too cold, right? We can't seem to hit that modern temperature right now, but we can always try. But thanks a lot. I'm going to sign off, but I'm going to be here. So if you want to put any more questions in the text format, we'll be hanging up.
Stop